All right. Good evening, everyone. Let me just get this started. Present. All right. Hopefully, you can all see my screen. And then it's not where it's supposed to start. Let's go to slide 1. All right. So this is my individual project presentation for CIT 260. My name is Dylan Parrish. And I'm going to just talk about some of the things I learned this semester, showing you some examples of the code that in many cases I wrote, but also worked on as a team, and things like that. And so just a little background of the game created was Dungeon Quest, which I will walk through with you a little bit later on how it works and a little bit of what the game is about and things like that. So to start, we're just going to talk about static and non-static variables. A static variable, in short, is one that's declared that doesn't change throughout the entire game. So an example of that would be like the player's name. In our game, at the beginning, we ask what's the name of who's playing, and that's used throughout the rest of the game. It doesn't change. However, a non-static variable is one where there can be multiple of them. So a great example of this would be with the scenes. So like in our game, we have multiple scenes where you interact with different enemies or different aids throughout the time. And so with those, see if I can show you an example here. So like we have create scenes. We do see scene is static. So there's just one scene throughout the entire game. However, there are multiple different scenes. And I realize that probably doesn't make sense. But the way it works is that the scene is one. And so here we have a new scene. The name of it is the starting room. And so that one's going to be the same throughout the entire game. However, there's other scenes as well, making these non-static. So there's the finished game, the white wizard view, monster room, which we have several different monster rooms, but you can see they're different because some of them have different symbol names and different things like that, which you'll be able to see as we go throughout the game a little bit later. But the difference between static and non-static, static stays the same throughout the entire thing. Non-static, there can be multiple of them that contribute to one variable. So like here, there's multiple scenes, but they contribute to one static scene. Next, we have our arrays, array list, and enums. What's great about arrays, array lists, enums is we can use these to create a list of different things. So like ours, we have several different enemies that a player will encounter, and so we can create a list of those enemies through an array, array list, or even an enum. The difference between each one of these, an array is fixed in length and it doesn't change the entire game, and they all have to be of the same data type. So whether it be they all need to be integers or they all need to be strings, they all need to be the same. An array list differs from that because it can vary in length. You can add to it, take away from it, and things like that. And then an enum, just like an array, is fixed. However, it's final. They cannot be changed. It's like with an array, we can change all the data types if we wanted to, from integer to string, and things like that. But they all need to be the same, whereas in an enum that can't happen, it's final. And so we'll see an example right here of an enum. We have this with all our scenes. You can see we have our start scene, finish scene, wizard, zombie, 1, 2, because there's multiple zombies, so on and so forth. We even have an empty dragon, just different things, but we used an enum for that because these are all final. Nothing's going to change about them. And then we have our array. I believe we use an array list here, which is we're using this for variables. So like an example of this would be with our inventories. We have multiple inventories. This code is to figure out what the greatest inventory strength is. So I wanted to know which inventory item in this entire game is the strongest. And so we have an array list of all these inventory items. And then using this 4, I'm taking that list and figuring out what the greatest is. So it's going through our inventory, different inventories. It's going to come in and find the strength, which is this get item level. And then it's going to say if this strong inventory is null, then it becomes the inventory that's in the person's hand. Or in this case, what we're trying to figure out, which is the strongest. Else if it's not null, all right, let's compare it to the current item. If it is stronger, that becomes the strongest item. If not, then it's not. And we keep our strong inventory item the same, but it continues to go through the list using this 4. It's just going to go through each one of the inventory items until it reaches the end. Now we have our throw, try, and catch, which is used for our runtime errors. So like in our game throughout these weeks, we've created return functions, which will let us know if something's creating an error or not. So if it returned 0, then we knew it wasn't working. If it returned, sometimes we would have an error, a system out message that would let us know, but no matter what, we had to return. Well, this replaces that. And so what the throw does is, if there is an error that needs to come or is going to happen, so within each function, if it doesn't work, we get to use a throw to throw an error message up the line to the top of the hierarchy of the code. So as a view contributes to a control, it just gets thrown up, and then at that point there's a try catch. If there is a runtime error within that try catch from the throw, then it's going to display that whichever error is there. And so that's also the point of try catch, is to catch which message to display from what's thrown. And so I have an example here with wizard question in our question control. Here is our throws. So here I have if variable 1 is less than 0, variable 2 is less than 0, variable 3 is less than 0, then I have a throw new wizard control exception, which says the numbers you entered are invalid because you can't enter a negative number. I have if they're equal to 0, the numbers you need to be are greater than 0. And then lastly, if it's not equal to 1, so saying that this result from answer addition, answer multiplication being divided by together does not equal 1, then it's going to say the numbers you entered do not equal 1, try again. And it tells them which numbers they entered so that they don't make the mistake of entering them again. And then up here we have our try catch. And so here, for an example, would be our numbers that they're entering. So enter first number, enter second number, enter third number. And then it's going to give this message saying, so if they entered, say they entered an A instead of a 1, then it's going to tell them you must enter a valid number. However, if it does make it through those that they did enter valid numbers, then it's going to come skip this catch, and it's going to come here, and we have this error dot display this dot class dot get message view we get message. This is where it would be thrown. So let's see if I can go back. So let's say if I had entered a 0 for one of them, then it's going to give me that error message right here, which was the number you enter must be more than 1. And so that's how a throw catch works. So the throw throws it up to these, and then it's tested within this try catch. So it's trying these numbers, catch the error, display what error message you want it to be. And then we have our character versus a byte. So Java initially only supported byte files. And the thing about byte files was that they could only map characters in single bytes. And this only supported Western language such as German, English, Spanish, those types of languages. But they realized character streams are able to do 2 bytes, which supports all languages. And so character streams made it easier to print reports or print to text easier in whatever language needed, and things like that. And so I just want to show you an example within the game, and this is the exciting part where we get a test and run the game. I can even show you this error and things, but why don't we just run the project, and I'm going to show you, actually, we're going to start with this character byte thing, and going to the character. I created this map list view, which is intended to print out a report of each of the room names that we have within our map and a description of them. And the way it comes out as character is because of this print writer function, and only because of this print writer function that it comes out as a character. So yeah, let's run the game. Let's go right here. As you can see, I have multiple running, and it's because I was testing it earlier. But so to start the game, we say, welcome, will you be able to survive the dungeon? Please enter your name. All right, so I'll enter my name, and then we have this menu, which we have start new game, get saved game, get help, save game, quit. And we want to start a new game. And in the game menu, so to get to this print report, I created a report in the game menu, reports and stats of your game, but actually this is the map. So we want to go into our map menu because that is where I have this one. So I have the show report all rooms. So I'm going to press R, and then it says P to print map. So I'm going to do P. I'm going to send it to, I'm just going to call it Dylan's map .txt. So I'm going to send it to a text file, and it tells me print was a successful. So let's go down here. I believe it shows up in probably libraries. All right, I know it shows up somewhere. There we go. Oh, those are test.jars. All right, I apologize. I gotta find print stuff too. All right, I do apologize that I can't find where it prints. I had it earlier. Well, let's just continue on with the game. But it's intended to print out a screen that, you know what? It's in files. There we go. I called it Dylan's map. So we have our starting room, and it gives us a description of each one of these. All right, so this is what came out to a character stream, and it gave us a room name and everything that was needed here. And so here we have, for example, we named a bunch of things monster room because we didn't want the player to know what was in each one of these rooms, because we have various monsters. So we have goblins, vampires, zombies, and so to keep the player on edge, we didn't want them to know, but here's a description of each one, how they can find out home to the goblin grog, and things like that. And then so let's go back to the running of the game. All right, and so let's say I want to go fight a monster. To do that, I'm going to move, and I'm going to enter a row. So let's do let's fight Diane. Diane is a zombie. She's supposed to be the weakest one, and we should be able to fight her pretty easy. So that's DA, so that's DI. So that's row 1, column 0. All right, so it tells us that Diane, she says blarg, because she's a zombie, she can't talk. What would you like to do? Let's fight her. All right, and so it says we have beat Diane. But wait, she has dropped an item. Would you like to pick it up? Yes. And so now we can actually go back and check our strength, and it has gone up. I didn't show it to you before, but I promise you it did go up. To go back, we just use Q to return to the menu. And then let's run away. Let's see. All these monsters. Trap. All right, now we're back to the menu. Let's look at inventory and let's view our inventory. So it tells us that we have a bronze dagger, tethered leather armor, polished scale mail, tells us what level all those are at. And if we want to know the player's strength, we click that. We got a 25. If we scroll up here, it's a combination of the leather armor and the scale mail. Or actually, no, the scale mail and the dagger. Sorry. We still have this tethered armor, but we're going to take the greater one as ours, and so that gives us 25. Let's go back to the map and let me show you this error that can show up within the white wizard that I created. Let's move wizards WZ, so row 2, column 1. So here it displays a message. So in short, the wizard says, if you answer this riddle, then I will give you help, which you're going to need later on in the game. So it says to start, press 0. So now we can see it asking us for numbers here because it wants to know what 3 positive numbers give the same result when multiplied and added together. So let's just do 1, 2, 3. All right. And it tells us, you're right, because this checks out, here's your hint. To defeat the dragon, you will need to wield the most powerful weapon and armor. You need to find the Holy Spear and the Cloak of Light. Awesome. Now what's happened, let's see what happens if, let's go back to the wizard. We can see we've already been there and are currently there with these stars. We can see where we've been and where we are depending on what markings are next each room. So let's do, again, 2, 1. All right, so 0 start. And let's say I enter a 0 here. Say I enter a 0 for all of them. All right, it sends me back to this. Why would it send me back to that? Well, because it says error. The numbers you enter must be more than 0. So we can see it threw up that error from the question control into the white wizard view, which then gave us the error message because this catch wants that. All right, and as you can see, the game is functioning, which is always exciting to find out. The way to win this game is you have to beat the dragon or you have to beat 7 rooms. And so the way we have it to know, let's get past this wizard real quick. All right, let's move. We have a final room and the dragon. The dragon I'm not going to be able to beat right now. Its strength is way more than mine. But then we have the finish room where if you beat 7 rooms, you can go to an exit. Now, I know we haven't beat 7 rooms, but to show you, this is kind of on the honest scale. You have to have some integrity to beat this game. But, have you beat 7 monsters? Yes. Congratulations, you win the game. Game over, right? And so that's the function of our game. It's really exciting. And that's my presentation. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for listening.